Welcome to the Strategy Rewind Podcast. I am your host, Miguel Lebron. Here at the Strategy Rewind Podcast, we look at the relationship between goals, strategies, belief, and objective breakthrough. I'm so excited for today's episode. Hey, if we haven't met before, thank you for being connected here today. I am a father, a leader, an author, a strategy coach, and mentor, and I partner with individuals who have a goal but need a strategy. And in this podcast, we focus on the strategy to help you have a breakthrough moment. Let me talk to you about our show sponsors, United Marriage Encounter. United Marriage Encounter is a worldwide nonprofit organization dedicated to improving marriages by introducing powerful, practical, ongoing communication strategies. It's such a powerful experience, the weekends that they host for marriages. Early in our marriage, my wife and I went to a weekend, but the strategies that we received were so powerful, we decided to go again because the truth is that we can always keep growing and learning on how to better communicate. The weekends that they host are presented in a conference type setting, but after that initial meet and greet, no other group sharing is required. Each couple is given enough time to talk privately, freely, and be able to dedicate their entire time to their significant other. Head over to unitedmarriage.com. That's unitedmarriage.com, where there you'll find more details on events that are coming up and may be happening in your neck of the woods. I'm about to say something that I know is going to get some of you a little bothered, but just please stay with me here. Stay with me, okay? Stay with me here. Here's what I'm about to tell you. I am an Android user. I know what some of you are thinking. I have a brother and relatives who use Apple devices, but I'm so embedded and part of the ecosystem that Google has built. I have a Google Home. I have a TV that uses Google. I have a phone that's a Google Pixel. I mean, I have these things, so I'm so embedded into the ecosystem. Now, why am I sharing this with you Apple lover, you? The reason I'm sharing this is because I'm sure that you can say, hey, Miguel, I don't want Android, and I'm not trying to convince you, and this is not that type of episode, but rather I know that you may have an Apple device, and you would say, hey, Miguel, I'm so embedded in the ecosystem that is Apple that I'm not switching. In fact, recently I had a conversation with someone and we were going back and forth and we're talking about Apple and Android, the big debate. And in this conversation about Apple and Android, he began to tell me, Miguel, I can't even switch even if I wanted to, he said. He said, because if I switch phones, then I have to switch my watch, I have to switch my earbuds, I have to switch my TV, I have to switch my computer, right? So he is so embedded into the ecosystem that Apple has created. And so I just want you really to take a look at this because you may be in the same position. I know I'm in the same position, just in the Android side of things. So look at this. We all are so embedded into an ecosystem. And why is it that in our life, we think we can do things by ourselves? You're so embedded in the ecosystem. You got Apple in your car, Apple on your wrist, Apple on your phone, Apple over here. You're so embedded in the ecosystem. You got Android here, Android there. Some of you got Amazon here, Amazon over there. You're so embedded in the ecosystem, and a good product creates that type of ecosystem, right? But yet, in our personal life, we sometimes take the position that I can do it by myself. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. By yourself, you're not going to be able to accomplish what needs to be done. By yourself, you're not going to be able to get to the other side. By yourself. And too often I hear individuals that say, well, success is a lonely road. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. The reason we assume that success is a lonely road is for several reasons. One, we refuse to take off the mask and be authentic. We say we're authentic, but in the moment of depression, in the moment of anxiety, in the moment of fear, in the moment of doubt, in the moment of all of these feelings, we never share them. We stay quiet. In fact, how many leaders do you know will openly say to you, hey, you know what? I feel doubtful that this will work. I know that if you're honest, we can say maybe a handful, maybe 2 handfuls at most. Because too often what happens in leadership is that we begin to put on a leader show. We begin to put on a mask of individuals that think that they can do it by themselves. And we begin to assume the position of leadership. And what is that position? Someone who sacrifices and suffers by themselves. But truly, that's not the objective. There is an ecosystem. So we say success is a lonely road. It isn't a lonely road. We make it a lonely road. As a leader, the best thing that I can do is I can bring everyone in. Now, granted, there are some people that are going to be brought in closer than others. There are some people that are going to see my tears, and there are some individuals that will not see my tears. They'll only see the lessons that I've learned through those tears. But that doesn't mean that it's a lonely road. That doesn't mean that I go through the struggles, the situations that I face in leadership by myself. Because at the end of the day, we are all part of an ecosystem. And a good ecosystem is so embedded. You know, many of us use window products, right? You may use Microsoft Windows. You may use Word. You may use PowerPoint. You may use all of the things that Windows produces, that Microsoft produces. But yet, they don't have a good ecosystem. They just don't. They don't have a phone. They don't have good watches. They don't have good, they just don't. And yet, the products that really maintain, the brands that really work are those that have a strong ecosystem. Those are the products that maintain. The products like Google, like Android, like Samsung, like Apple. It's the products that have a specific clear view of where they're going, a specific image that they are presenting, and they have an ecosystem. And so what they do is that they create a sense of community. And now, if you are part of the Android club, you're part of the Android club. And if you're part of the Apple club, then you know, you have apples. But what I'm trying to illustrate here, and I hope you're taking away from this, is that the strategy to gain the footing, the strategy to gain a footing in the position that you want to be in is not by going at it by yourself. That's not the appropriate way. The appropriate way is to go ahead and build an ecosystem. Oftentimes, I hear individuals who say, don't tell anyone your dreams. Well, if you tell no one where you're going, how can you align with the right people? Somebody's got to know something. The objective would be that while I may communicate my intention, that I not wear it on my sleeve. Let me say it again, while I may communicate my intention, I not wear it on my sleeve. Hey, I got somewhere I want to go. I got some things I got to build. I got some things I want to do. And because of that, I move in this direction. That doesn't mean I'm going to tout it and tweet it and talk about it every day. That just means I'm moving in this direction. If you ask, I'll tell you, but I'm not going ahead and announcing it every day. It's a big difference than keeping it a secret. Because there are people in my ecosystem that are well aware of what my 1-year plan is and what my 10-year plan is in my ecosystem. In my ecosystem. And even within the ecosystem that you have built, there are people that are closer than others. I mean, just think about this. How often do you use all of the products that you have within your Apple or Android collection? Just think about that. But this idea that we have to do it alone is the idea that I think destroys the possibility of growth. Because truly, as a leader, if I can be transparent and if I can be honest and if I can be just vulnerable with those individuals around me, not everyone, but that specific group that I understand that are all in, that specific group that are going the extra mile, that specific group that are founders, that are members, that specific group, if I can just be all available and show them what the tiers are and how they're all worth it, well, then not only do I create a strong ecosystem, but I also develop leaders for tomorrow, which in the face of adversity can always have a point of reference of saying, okay, I remember when this person in leadership suffered all those tears, but never stopped moving forward. So yeah, I use Android. And yeah, you may use Apple. I'm not trying to convince you to switch. I'm only trying to present to you the necessity that we all have in creating a powerful ecosystem. Otherwise, you're one of the other brands that while they're good, well, they're not great. Thank you so much for everyone who has been connected here today on Strategy Rewind Podcast. For more information on this podcast, head over to strategyrewind.com. There in the show notes, you'll also find information on today's show sponsor, which is United Marriage Encounter. Remember, they have events going on all through the calendar year and even in your neck of the woods. Of course, if you'd like to be a sponsor of this podcast, head over to MiguelLebron.com. There you'll find details not only of how you can become a sponsor of this podcast, but also information on Miguel Lebron coaching. As always, please consider subscribing and sharing this podcast. And of course, surround yourself with people that will nourish your vision.